Construction Calculator is an Android app available from Snappy Appz. This software is available on the Google Play Store as a free, ad-driven version and a paid, ad-free version. The software is designed with construction tradesmen in mind and was created by tradesmen who work in the field. Construction Calculator is a very comprehensive package, and we highly recommend you watch this tutorial and our entire tutorial series in their entirety so that you can get the most out of Construction Calculator. We have included links to all the associated videos below in the write-up.
While Construction Calculator has many handy modes, such as a full-featured triangle calculator and an arcs and sectors mode, in this tutorial we will be concentrating on the settings screen.
With that said, let's take a look at the app.
So let's go ahead and go into our settings screen. There's two ways to do that, but the main way is from this purple button with the gear on it. We also have a settings button in the mode bar. So let's go ahead and click the gear button. That'll bring us into our settings, and we'll just go through them one at a time. The first setting is under the numbers section is inch precision. It's set to 1/16 because what this does is it rounds the fractional part of your inch numbers to whatever this number is. So if you're working in the field with a measuring tape, the chances are you're going to want this set to 1/16 because your measuring tape doesn't show 30 seconds or 64ths typically. So I'll just give you an example of that. So if we go and change it to 64ths, and we go back out to our calculator, and let's just do a quick calculation. 9 feet divided by 2.1 should give us a nice fraction. And you'll see that comes up as 27/64ths, which is good for precision, but not so good if you're trying to use your measuring tape to measure that out later. So let's go back into settings, and we'll set that to 16ths, which your typical measuring tape has on it. And we'll back out, and you'll see now if I recall that value, it's now at 16ths, 7/16ths. And any calculations you do right now will always round up to a 16th. So that's the first setting. Our second setting is decimal precision. This, I think by default is set to 8, but you can set it anywhere from 2 to 10. This only affects your final results, so your calculator is always working on basically infinite decimals while it's calculating, and then the final result is rounded to whatever you have set here. So you might even want to dummy it down a bit to 4, or whatever your application is and how precise you need to be. Sometimes you'll want to go to 2 decimal places to do currency calculations, like money, so you're not getting fractional pennies. Let's just show you an example of that. So let's set it to 10 and go back out here and just go √2, and you'll see we obviously get a lot of decimal places that a lot of time you won't want or won't need. And you'll see if we set it to 2 and go √2, whoops, and go √2, you'll see you just get your 2 decimal places, which again might be handy for calculating currency or tips or whatever you're using the calculator for. So that's your second setting. Third setting, number format. You typically won't need to change this. It'll be at default, which means it's copying whatever number format your phone is set to or whatever country. What this setting does is it changes to different countries' number formatting systems, which a lot of time will change. Some countries use commas to separate thousands, some use decimals, and same with your fractional portions of your numbers. Some use decimals, some use commas. Typically, you'll just leave this in default. It'll default to whatever your phone is set to, and all your number formatting should be correct back in the main display. So you'll see in the main display, we're in Canada right now, and our thousand separator is a comma, and our decimal separator is a decimal, of course. Okay, next, lock denominator. So what this one does, if it's checked, it's going to lock this inch precision to that denominator. So your results will always be in 64ths. So say your result, you're expecting a half, it'll actually be 32/64ths because your denominator is locked right now. So you'll see that if we go out here, and let's go ahead and clear that. And let's go ahead and go 5 foot 1/8 inch. And we'll just add a foot to it. And you'll see it's locking everything to 64ths right now. So your result's in 8/64ths where you might expect it to be 1/16 or 1/8. So that's what that does, and you'll see if we now turn that lock denominator off and we recall that value, we'll actually get it in the 6 foot 1/8. Because it's not locked, it's rounding it to the whatever fraction it can. So that's what that does. Include yards is pretty much what it says, and it'll include yards when it's breaking down your foot inch values. So let's just go out and take a look at that. So say I went, 64 feet plus 1 foot. You'll see it'll break it down into yards, 21 yard, 2 feet. Whereas if you had that off, you turn the include yards off, you're not going to get a yard value, you're just going to get feet. Memory usage is pretty straightforward. This next section, it's the amount of memory the app is going to use while it's running and how much on your phone, although I mean the memory that it's using on your phone is pretty minimal for this, but memory usage during use of the app might make a difference to some people, so you can actually set these to greater or smaller than what they are set to as default. But what this does is it's how many slots of memory are going to be kept until it starts rolling them off. The oldest ones, it'll start to roll them off. So say you had 10 numbers in memory and you put an 11th number in, well, it's going to roll the oldest value off out of memory and put your new value in. And you'll see when you go out here, if you go into history, you'll see it's been keeping track of all the numbers we've been calculating today. And it will calculate up to 50, and then it'll start rolling these top numbers off as it goes because we have that memory slot set to 50. This also applies to memory, which we have nothing in memory right now. Let's just throw something in there. So you see we now have 2 numbers in memory. We can, the way I have it set now, we can store up to 10 numbers in memory. But you can put that up or down as you see fit, really depending on your phone, how new it is and how powerful it is, how much memory it has. And that also applies to scales. So the way I have it set now, you can save up to 10 different drawing scales in here, and then it'll start to roll them off. Okay, let's go back into here. The next section is feedback. What this does is it when you're touching on the calculator buttons, it will either make a vibrate, a noise, or none, or however you like it. So I typically have my vibrate off. I don't like my phone vibrating every time I press a button on the calculator, but I have my sound on. I do like to hear some sort of feedback as the calculator is being used. If you find these annoying, just turn them both off and Bob your uncle. The buttons still turn green to show that you're actually pressing them, but you won't get any audio or haptic feedback. And then your last setting is your mode bar visibility. So if you turn this off, your mode bar is going to vanish. You'll see it's gone now. It gives you a little more screen space for your buttons, and your buttons will actually be a little larger too, so some people may prefer that. I prefer to have my mode bar on, but at any time you can just come and turn it back on if you need one of its functions. And now you'll see this gray button bars back here, which controls quite a bit of helpful modes that you might want to use. So I think most people will typically leave that on. But that's about it for settings.
I hope you really enjoy our app and that it saves you tons of time. If you require more help, please be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to keep up to date with new tutorials and apps. Also, check us out on Instagram under Snappy Appz. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.